Hi 09, we've got a HEMS job for you, please.
Reports RTC car versus bike. Patient has a head injury.
Good reference of Sierra Oscar
993 825, and that's
on Land Ranger 139.
Paramedic for just over 15 years now, and I think it's something that I've always aspired to. I enjoy all aspects of being a paramedic, but I think with this specifically it's a very clinically challenging role, and also from the sort of environments that you're working in as well.
I've been an air ambulance paramedic for about 5.5 years. I love the job because I always get variety, I get a great opportunity to help people. Being on the platform of a helicopter and being so fast to get to cases means that we can arrive either first or very quickly on scene, which means that we go to obviously the most serious incidents, and they're the most challenging, but by being the most challenging they're also the most rewarding for when you manage to help a patient.
I became a paramedic because when I was about 15 I was involved in a serious accident with my dad, and the paramedics that helped us then, I always remember how well they treated us. So, and then I found once I became a paramedic that I really enjoyed treating the most critically ill patients, and that's what I get the most satisfaction from.
As a paramedic, my job is to obviously give life-saving treatment to critically injured patients. We actually use the benefits that the aircraft can bring, which is the speed over the ground and the ability to get to remote locations to actually provide that emergency medical care in remote locations, and we also offer the ability to take patients to hospital as quickly as possible.
In the Midlands, we have one of the few services in the country which provides 24/7 doctor cover. The good thing about having doctors on board is that we offer some additional skills that, if it was a paramedic-led service alone, wouldn't be available to the patients of the West Midlands. So although our specialist trauma paramedics and our paramedics working on the aircraft have lots of skills and lots of experience, there are just a few extra things that doctors can offer. And I suppose the most important one of those would be giving anaesthesia, being able to deliver a general anaesthetic to a patient who's had a serious head injury or major trauma. We can take over their breathing, we can control their ventilation to ensure that they get the best possible outcome.
The kit we've got on board is, in essence, is very similar to the sort of kit that you'd find on a road ambulance, but we have got a few sort of extra bits and pieces. So as far as the medical kit goes, we've got our defibrillator and monitor, we've got specialist trauma dressings, we've got hemostatic dressings which can basically arrest bleeding from wounds, we've got intraosseous devices which can get vascular access. All similar to what we've got on the road, but there's a little bit of variance within that.
The Midlands Air Ambulance is deployed approximately 10 times a day on average. Some days as many as 20, some days as little as 2. It often depends on weather, also what day of the week it is, what time of the day. There's certainly peaks as to when they're needed and for what they're required for, but there are 3 helicopters in the Midlands Air Ambulance and they're dotted around the region. It's mine and my colleagues' role to go through the jobs that come into the control room, the general 999 calls, and to assess them on their individual merits as to whether or not they would require an air ambulance. We then plot the job. We get grid references, map book references, any kind of information like that they would require. We then phone the air bases and pass them the general details of the job and where they're off to.
One car RTC, 3 patients trapped and cars overturned.
We never know where we're going to land when we lift on a case unless it happens to be a hospital, like a transfer, or a landing site where we've been before, where like a regular place where people might have hand guys and accidents, for example.
Well, that's the beauty of the helicopter, of course, is we can land pretty much anywhere. We are very much governed by the size, the minimum size we can have of a landing site, and the aircraft itself is limited to how much the land can slope, so those are probably the main factors in selecting a land to go on. The other things that really really impact us, and probably have the biggest impact on us are people. People do some pretty strange things on the ground, and we have to be very careful that someone on the ground is able to control the people. It's not walking forward to where we want to land, approaching the aircraft after we land, that kind of thing. So I'd say that's probably the most limiting factor is population.
A lot of the jobs that we go to are sort of trauma related. You certainly see a high percentage of trauma on the aircraft than you do generally as sort of land crews. If we can actually get them to a specialist trauma centre within that very first hour, that is sort of like the critical time, and that's where really what we do has an instant impact on the patient.
The challenges that this job presents make me more equipped, I think, to deal with my hospital patients. You've obviously got limited resources, often working in difficult circumstances. I also really enjoy the team atmosphere that we get working alongside the paramedics. We tend to get really good working relationships with them, so that we're working really closely to deliver that sort of advanced care. And it's challenging. Of course, the real bonus is I get to find help.
As a road paramedic, obviously this was seen as the pinnacle of being able to provide emergency care, and ever since I joined the ambulance service, this was my goal, to actually work on the air ambulance. I've been doing it for a number of years now, and I really enjoy it.
It's the sort of pinnacle, as people call it, of a paramedic's career, to work on the air ambulance. And for me, it was just wanting to do that little bit extra, that extra challenge of managing our most seriously injured patients, really.
I think the most satisfying part of the job is where we actually sort of meet the patients that we've actually treated in the past, where we've been to emergencies, given them treatment, and then we've actually taken them to hospital. It's often, the case that we actually lose touch with them at that point. However, on days like today, we actually get to meet some of them.
It's a very privileged position. I feel very, very proud to do what I do, and it gives me, it gives you a great deal of job satisfaction on a day-to-day basis, to feel as though you've actually gone in and helped somebody, and just been part of a big wheel, a big cog that's hopefully going to see them recover to full health again.
I think the best part for me is being part of a very motivated, a highly motivated and very professional team, really. And I think it's a very rewarding thing to feel that you've been able to deliver the very best clinical care for patients, and the ability that we got with the aircraft to convey patients straight to definitive care as well.
The fact that I'm able to get close to a job and to get someone to a hospital and do some good for them is the most rewarding factor.
It's very rewarding for patients to come back and meet us when they get better. It's obviously, we see them at their time of need, probably their worst time of their life, and it's not always the nicest situation, so we don't get to have a nice conversation. But when they do come back and we get to meet them and see their family and see how they're getting on now, it's probably the best part of the job.
The Midlands Air Ambulance literally is the difference between life and death for some patients. It is funded solely by the public. It receives no government funding whatsoever.
We couldn't help the people that we help if it wasn't for the people who work for the charity and who donate very generously to our service. So I would just say thank you, and please keep donating, because then we can keep flying and keep helping people.
It's really heartwarming to see what the effort that people will put in to ensure that we can keep flying and keep helping patients.
I love the job I do. That helicopter is here for anybody in their moment of need. It doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, it's here to help you. And that's what makes my job so worthwhile, that we are out there, all as fundraisers, all the people that are behind the Midlands Air Ambulance, we're all here to try and keep this vital service operational.
It's a big thank you to everybody who fundraises for Midlands Air Ambulance, whether it's putting a pound in a charity box or holding an event. Every single penny makes a difference.
I owe them a lot, and I have a barbecue every year to collect money for the air ambulance. It's well worth doing, and I do what I can for them.
I'd like to thank the Midlands Air Ambulance, because without them I wouldn't be here. They saved my life.
Thank you for saving my life.